Hello, wine lovers! I am Yaroslava, sommelier and wine educator, your guide on this journey through a world of wines, spirits, and cocktails. Petit Verdot, an ancient French grape variety that has spent centuries as a supporting player, is slowly stepping into the spotlight. More and more wine lovers are discovering a truly unusual wine that combines fully body and high tannins with a vivid floral fruity aroma. A well-made variental Petit Verdot is deeply colored, almost inky wine, with powerful yet silky tannins, aromas of violet and lilac, flavors of black cherry and plum, and notes of pepper and spice, sometimes with touches of tobacco and leaf. Petit Verdot entered the modern wine world from France, more precisely from Bordeaux, which is one of the 6 varieties permitted in IC Bordeaux, along with Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Malbec, and Carmenere. Many consider Bordeaux the birthplace of Petit Verdot, but the region's climate does not match what the variety needs to thrive. This suggests Petit Verdot originated elsewhere. It likely arrived in Bordeaux from the warmer Pyrenees with the Romans, for any traces of this journey is lost in time. Still, is it quite possible that the Petit Verdot was almost the first variety that Romans planted along the Gironde? Petit Verdot produces small, thick-skinned berries, which results in very high tannins. It is often added to Cabernet Sauvignon to further enhance tannin structure, and Cabernet Sauvignon is hardly lacking in tannins itself. Petit Verdot also has very intense color. Its acidity is not the highest among the red grapes, but is above average. High tannins and good acidity point to strong aging potential. In fact, the variety needs time to show its best. Aging softens the initially harsh tannins, turning them silky, and it transforms the rough wagyu banana note of young Petit Verdot into a deep aroma of violet, lilac, and sage. But to develop these aromas, the grape must fully ripen, and the relatively warm Bordeaux climate is still not warm enough for this long-maturing variety. Petit Verdot needs about 3 weeks more than Cabernet Sauvignon, which is already one of the latest ripening grapes. Bordeaux autumns were not always long enough. For example, in the mid-20th century, Petit Verdot reaches full ripeness only once every 4 years, even though it was planted only on the warmer left bank, planted mainly in the Medoc. The grape simply did not get enough sun. It is not coincidence that Petit Verdot means little green, a reference to how the berries often looks in the time that variety were ready to harvest. Because of this, Bordeaux winemakers treated Petit Verdot as a sibling of Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. They used it only in small quantities, 1–5% to boost tannins, deepen color, and add a herbal note. And this made sense. In the Bordeaux climate, the variety rarely reached full ripeness. It is also demanding both in the vineyard and in the cellar. It ripens slowly and unevenly, requiring green harvesting during maturation, which means significant manual labor. It flowers early, making it vulnerable to spring frosts. It needs abundant sun and well-drained soils. Too much water produces diluted wine, but when wine also dislikes growth, only minimal irrigation is tolerated. And the wine is unfold fully, it requires long and careful aging, a few years in only the beginning. The best examples can age for decades. For mass market winemaking, which aims for efficiency, Petit Verdot was simply too demanding. Its already tiny plating in France shrunk by half in the second half of the 20th century, from 685 hectares in 1958 to 339 in 1988. The severe frost of 1956, which destroyed many vineyards in France, also contributed in this decline. Yet Petit Verdot did not disappear, quite the opposite. It began to flourish, especially in countries with climate far better suited to its needs. In Italy, Petit Verdot became one of the components of the so-called Super Tuscan wines. Tuscany's main grape variety is Sangiovese, the basis of a traditional regional wine such as Chianti, Brunello di Montalcino, and Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. However, in 1944, the story took an unexpected turn. Marquis Mario in Chiesa della Racchetta, who lived in Maremma, a coastal part of Tuscany, found himself cut off the supplies of his beloved Bordeaux wines because of a war. He solved the problem in a very direct way. He planted Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc in his Sassicaia vineyard. For many years, the Marquis enjoyed the wine on his own, until his nephew, Piero Antinori, tasted it and insisted that such an extraordinary discovery should not remain hidden. In 1971, the 1968 Sassicaia was released to the market. Inspired by his uncle's wine, Piero Antinori, together with his enologist Giacomo Takis, created Tignanello, combination of both Cabernet with Sangiovese and applying the Bordeaux winemaking techniques. Tignanello appeared in 1974. Both wines caused a sensation and brought the global attention to Tuscany. At that time, the Tuscan wine scene was in decline. Brunello and Vino Nobile still maintained some reputation, but Chianti was hardly taken seriously, and the strict Italian wine laws offered no help. Inspired by success of Sassicaia and Tignanello, Tuscan producers began creating what would later be called Super Tuscan wines. At first, these wines could only be classified as a simple table wine. When they received IGT status, and today some have even earned status of DOC. Following the arrival of both Cabernets, our Bordeaux varieties, Merlot, Syrah, and Petit Verdot, also made their way into Tuscan vineyards. Naturally, different Super Tuscan producers use different grape combinations. Petit Verdot is widely used, for example, by Ornellaia, the Sassicaia's neighbor, in the blend of Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Cabernet Franc. Vindia blends Petit Verdot with Sangiovese. Producers such as Petra Zingari, Antinori, and Giantia Tenura di Tirinora, Sanfelice, and many others also use Petit Verdot in their blends. We will discuss Super Tuscan wines in detail later. For now, let's return to Petit Verdot itself. In Italy, beyond Tuscany, which grows about half of all Italian Petit Verdot, the variety also widely cultivated in Sicily, Lazio, and Mark. This region produces a significant number of pure variant of Petit Verdot wines. Petit Verdot is grown throughout Spain, especially in Castilla-La Mancha and Humilaia. It is used in blends with Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, but also appears in a pure variant of wine. Interestingly, some producers, such as Paga del Vacario, make world-class pure Petit Verdot Rosé, which is unusual for a grape known for powerful tannins and intense color. Portugal also produces expressive pure variant of Petit Verdot, particularly in the Lenteja region, whose climate suits the variety perfectly. Rosé wines with Petit Verdot are made here as well. In the United States, Petit Verdot is grown in at least 16 states, with California being the most prominent. In California, particularly in Napa Valley, Petit Verdot is widely used in Bordeaux-style blends, known locally as Meritage. However, pure variental wines are becoming increasingly common. The same trend is observed in Washington state. In Virginia, Petit Verdot has become one of the state's leading varieties. While developing its modern wine industry, Virginia deliberately avoided choosing the world's most popular grapes to prevent direct competition with established regions. Instead, several old-world secondary varieties that best matches the state's climate and soil were selected. Petit Verdot, together with Viognier, Cabernet Franc, and Petit Manseng, became one of the foundations of local winemaking. In Virginia, both pure variental, powerful aromatic Petit Verdot wines and blends in which it plays a major role are produced. Petit Verdot arrived in Australia in 1833 with a collection of James Busby, the founder of Australian winemaking, among with other 650 grape cuttings he brought from Spain and France. In Riverland, Riverina and Murray Valley regions tend to produce a relatively lighter style of Petit Verdot, while the Barossa and Yarra Valley regions produces richer and more concentrated versions. The variety is traditionally used mostly in Bordeaux-style blends, but Kingston Estate and Pyramima and McLaren Vale focus on producing pure variental aged Petit Verdot. Petit Verdot first arrived in South Africa in 1975 as a legitimate wine estate. Until the 1990s, when the new clones were introduced from France, it was grown in small quantities. After that, interest to the variety increased significantly. The most important Petit Verdot plantings are found in the Stellenbosch region, where Paarl and Robertson cultivated it. Both pure Oriental wines and Bordeaux-style blends are produced. In South America, Petit Verdot has found new home in Argentina, Chile, Peru, and Uruguay. It arrived there in the 19th century. It was long used exclusively as the blending component. Today, the focus is shifting to pure Oriental wines. In Argentina, Petit Verdot was previously grown mainly in Mendoza, but now it is cultivated in almost all region, from Patagonia to Salta. In Chile, the key Petit Verdot production area is Maipo Valley, where it's often blended with Carmenere, while the Colchagua Valley is known for its pure Oriental Petit Verdot. In Peru, pure Oriental Petit Verdot is produced in Ica region. It must be said that with the advent of the 21st century, the variety's homeland also turned its attention back to its once neglected child. With that influenced both by the general warming of the climate, which made Bordeaux more suitable for the heat-loving Petit Verdot, and by the success achieved by other countries in cultivating the variety. Petit Verdot returned to French vineyards and by 1918 occupied 1475 hectares, not only reversing the decline of the previous century by doubling its presence. Some Bordeaux producers have not only increased the proportion of Petit Verdot in their blends to a notable degree, but have also begun producing pure Oriental wines. For example, Chateau Bellevue, located about 10 minutes drive from the famous Chateau Margaux, produces blends containing 20% Petit Verdot, the unusual high percentage of the Bordeaux. Since 2018, the estate has also been producing a pure Oriental Petit Verdot from old vines planted between 1938 to 58, making them 60-80 years old. The wine is aged using a combination of old and new Austrian oak and Italian clay amphora in order to preserve its fruit character. After maturation, it is fined with egg whites to soften the texture and moderate the acidity. The result is luminous wine with vibrant fruit and powerful yet silky tannins, an impressive example of pure Oriental French Petit Verdot. There are still only a few such producers in Bordeaux, but their number continues to grow. As for the practical side, Petit Verdot is best served at 18-20 degrees centigrade. Decanting is highly recommended, and about 2 hours of it is usually good. This high tannin full-bodied wine is with good acidity pairs well with red and fatty meats, steak, baked on stewed beef and lamb, and pork ribs. Suitable vegetables include various legumes and mushrooms. Aged and smoked cheeses, nuts, and olives also pair well. Today, I have a California Petit Verdot, Bonne Vineyard, Lodi Central Valley. It's called a proper Petit Verdot. Let's see how proper it is. This one for you, this one for me. Black cherry, violet. Full-bodied, strong but soft tannins. Expressive fruit aroma. Blackberry, black plum, black currant, cherry. Touches of pepper and liver. A nice long finish. This is not a top on the life pure Oriental Petit Verdot, but it is a very nice example. Stay with me, subscribe to my channel. Feel free to ask questions and don't hesitate to support me. Sante!